Few figures in American history are as iconic and as mysterious as John F. Kennedy. He was a president who embodied hope and progress, yet his life was abruptly cut short by one of the most notorious assassinations in history. But while the tragedy in Dallas remains one of the most documented events in the 20th century, one chilling fact continues to baffle historians and conspiracy theorists alike. The president's brain mysteriously went missing after his autopsy. Was it stolen to conceal the truth, or is there a more benign explanation? Stick around as we unravel JFK's life and assassination. This video explores startling theories and reveals details that may challenge everything you thought you knew about John F. Kennedy. John Fitzgerald Kennedy was born on May 29, 1917 in Brookline, Massachusetts, into two influential Irish Catholic families. His paternal grandfather, P.J. Kennedy, built his fortune in banking and liquor, while his maternal grandfather, John "Honey" Fitzgerald, was a charismatic politician who served as Boston's mayor and a congressman. John's mother, Rose Fitzgerald, was a prominent Boston socialite, and his father, Joseph Kennedy Sr., made his wealth through banking and the stock market, later becoming the chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission and an ambassador to Great Britain. John, or Jack as he was known, was the second of 9 children in the extraordinary Kennedy family. The Kennedys were a tightly knit family, with Joe Sr. paying particular attention to his children's education and achievements. Despite frequent reprimands from his father, young John F. Kennedy was a mischievous and mediocre student. At Canterbury, a Catholic boarding school, he excelled in English and history, but nearly failed Latin. He later attended Choate, where he continued to prioritize sports and social life over academics, despite demonstrating occasional brilliance. Chronic illness plagued his youth, causing him to miss significant school time. After transferring from Princeton to Harvard, Kennedy's pattern persisted. He performed well in classes he enjoyed, but remained an average student. However, as an upperclassman, he became more focused, completing a senior thesis on Britain's unpreparedness for World War II. The thesis was published as Why England Slept, selling over 80,000 copies. After graduating in 1940, Kennedy joined the U.S. Navy. While commanding a patrol torpedo boat in the South Pacific, his vessel, PT-109, was struck by a Japanese destroyer. Despite severe back injuries, he led his crew to safety, earning both the Navy and Marine Corps Medal and a Purple Heart. The tragedy of his older brother Joe Jr.'s death in 1944 shifted the family's political hopes to John, setting him on the path to the presidency. After leaving the Navy, John F. Kennedy briefly worked as a reporter before running for the U.S. House of Representatives in 1946 at the age of 29. Backed by his status as a war hero, his family's influence, and his father's wealth, he easily won the Boston seat. However, he found his time in Congress frustrating, stifled by rules that limited the impact of a young representative. In 1952, seeking more influence, Kennedy challenged and narrowly defeated Republican Henry Cabot Lodge for a Senate seat, driven by a well-funded and expertly run campaign led by his brother Robert. Despite frequent illnesses, Kennedy authored Profiles in Courage, which earned him a Pulitzer Prize, the only president to achieve this honor. Though his Senate career lacked distinction, he was increasingly drawn to global issues, particularly the Cold War and the threat posed by the Soviet Union's nuclear buildup. In 1956, John F. Kennedy nearly became the Democratic vice presidential candidate, but was ultimately overlooked for Estes Kefauver. By 1860, Kennedy launched his own presidential bid, defeating Hubert Humphrey in the Democratic primaries and choosing Lyndon B. Johnson as his running mate. Facing Richard Nixon in the general election, Kennedy won by a narrow margin, becoming the 35th U.S. president and the youngest elected at 43. His presidency saw major foreign policy moves, including the creation of the Peace Corps and managing crises like the failed Bay of Pigs invasion and the Cuban Missile Crisis. Domestically, Kennedy's civil rights efforts gained momentum towards the end of his presidency, culminating in the introduction of a civil rights bill that later became the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Despite challenges with Congress, his presidency left a lasting legacy in both foreign and domestic affairs. In the fall of 1963, President John F. Kennedy was gearing up for his upcoming re-election campaign. Although he hadn't officially declared his candidacy, his intent to run was evident, and he appeared confident in his chances of securing a second term. In late September, Kennedy embarked on a tour across 9 states within a week, focusing on natural resources and conservation, while subtly introducing themes like education, national security, and world peace for his 1964 campaign. On November 21, 1963, President Kennedy, along with the First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy and Vice President Lyndon Johnson, began a 2-day fundraising tour across 5 cities in Texas. Besides fundraising, the trip aimed to unite the divided Democratic Party in the critical state. Despite past hostility towards Kennedy in Dallas, the president received warm welcomes in San Antonio, Houston, and Fort Worth, where he delivered speeches before heading to Dallas the next day. On November 22nd, after arriving at Dallas Love Field, the Kennedys entered an open convertible for a motorcade ride. The streets were lined with thousands of onlookers as the motorcade made its way toward the Trade Mart. As they passed Dealey Plaza, shots rang out. At 12:30 p.m., Kennedy was struck by 2 bullets, one through the neck and the other fatally in the head. He was rushed to Parkland Memorial Hospital, but was pronounced dead at 1 p.m. Soon after, Lee Harvey Oswald was identified as the prime suspect. Although Oswald denied the charges, he was arrested. 2 days later, he was shot and killed by nightclub owner Jack Ruby, sparking even more controversy and speculation surrounding the assassination. In the years following JFK's assassination, many questions remained unanswered, including the mysterious disappearance of his brain. Removed during his autopsy and stored in the National Archives, the organ was reported missing in 1966. Conspiracy theorists suggest it could have proven Kennedy was shot from the front, not by Oswald from behind. However, some believe his brother Robert may have taken it to protect the president's legacy, perhaps hiding the extent of his health issues or medications. The fascination with JFK's assassination endures, fueled by such mysteries and debates, ensuring his legacy remains a significant part of American history. Kennedy's legacy is marked by his vision of a brighter future, from his commitment to civil rights to his space exploration ambitions, which continue to inspire generations long after his tragic death.